I've picked up a few books after having read your book, and one of them being Wind in the Willows, which I hadn't known it existed until now, and I look forward to reading it because now I have an excuse. Because and another thing, right? Because when you have kids, you don't want them to grow up too soon, and you want to enjoy that bit with them because it lets you let your hair down without embarrassment and without judgment. And one way of doing that is to read to them, and it doesn't matter whether you're silly or not.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's one of the things that I found consistently fascinating about this subject all the way through is the realization, people sometimes say, or appear to give the impression that children's writing is just sort of less interesting than literature for adults and is less important and less complex and less serious. I think it's more interesting, more important because everything else is built on top of it, and more complex because in children's writing you get this thing where they are spaces, imaginative spaces in which, as I see it, children and adults meet. And they meet almost coming in opposite directions because for an adult, as you described so well, to read a children's book is to enter this imaginative space where you're kind of free from adult life. It's a refuge. It's an escape from adulthood and grief and responsibility and different. You're suddenly in this exciting, wonderful, full of possibilities childhood world. But for children, it's freedom too. They're allowed to imagine a world in which they have more freedom to act, in which magical things will happen to them. They imagine themselves to be the protagonists of these stories, and generally the protagonists of these stories are having exciting adventures, which most children, if we're looking after them right, aren't having much in the way of exciting adventures because we keep them safe.
Yes.